What's up, everybody? Welcome to Carpets and Coffee number 76. We have Trey with us from Cold Blooded Caffeine. Been a long time coming. What's up, man? Glad to have you. Yeah. So how you been, man?
Yeah, long time coming. Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, we appreciate you guys supporting us and advertising for us on the show. So glad to finally get on and put a face to the name and all that good stuff. So
yeah, man. I mean, it's like my two favorite things in the world. It's coffee and
snakes.
And
like
snakes.
That
I mean, you even named a show about it. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really easy sell to get Eric on board, like for that. Like,
yeah, I know.
There must not have been a lot of twisting. You've been like, hey, you're like.
I know. I
really
told Owen.
Took one email. Yeah, he didn't like, even fight me on it.
No, he wouldn't.
Sure, be a sponsor. Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
People like, I would like to send you free cages. And Eric's like, maybe, but like you guys are like coffee, and he's like, oh shit, yeah.
Right.
This is true.
Yeah,
Owen's been hammering me about numbers and stats and figures, and I was just like, oh my god, this is such a pain in the ass. And you're just like, so you want to sponsor?
You want a bag of coffee? Yeah. I don't even have to ask any questions. All right.
I guess you have to understand, Trey, like most people, when we go on herp trips, this is like the number one thing that they have to figure out how to get me.
Yeah.
Just coffee, you know.
We have to figure out when we leave at the ass crack of dawn to go herping, we have to know where we will stop to get the coffee. Otherwise, Eric will not be partaking in the trip. He'll be at.
Yeah.
So
I almost missed Owen Pelly Pythons because of no, I'm just kidding.
No, that happened at night.
I'm not that crazy. So I guess let's start at the beginning, man. I know. Talk to me about how you came up with this idea. How you got into reptiles and how you got into coffee.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like most people's story, I've been chasing frogs and snakes and stuff around the house since I was a little kid. So I started on the reptile side. When I graduated, so in college, I kept some stuff, but limited with what you could keep in the dorms. I was one of those guys. Yeah. Once I got out of college, I went crazy and had about one of everything. So I had boas and carpets and ball pythons and geckos and everything that I could get a hold of. I mean, this was probably back in 2010. So it was mostly like pet store stuff. So like I would go to our local reptile shop, whatever they had in, that's what I got. And so a bunch of stuff that probably I had no business. Like I had Timor monitors and I had, like stuff that a pet keeper probably shouldn't have been able to get their hands on.
Not something you really want to like figure out while you're on the fly with it. Yeah.
So, but I think most of us that have been doing this for a while had that phase, right? Where we had to have one of everything.
So 100%. Far you've done everything I've been doing, but then like you're like coffee and I went podcast. Yeah. So like so far like you're like what you could keep in the dorm. Yeah, I only had 15 in the dorm, but okay. And then 2010 was when everything exploded. Yeah, okay. So we're about the same.
Right there.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting married in 2012, narrowed my focus a bit, new family, everything. So I did narrow my focus a bit. Actually went out of reptiles for about 2 years and did saltwater aquariums. So really big into reef tanks. Cool. For a little while. I still have one. Like there's one in the lobby of the roastery here, but it's a little guy compared to what I used to do. But did that for a stretch. Overlapped it again with reptiles again. So I came back in, did ball pythons exclusively for about 6 years or so. And did the whole breeding thing. Decided that wasn't really where I wanted to go. That's nothing against ball pythons. They serve their place in the hobby, but I kind of got tired of opening bins and seeing the same snake. And again, I think that's a direction that a lot of people go. So then I started to again more strategically this time, but again, start to like spread out again to see. I did not go into monitors like I did the last time.
It wasn't a grab bag like it was some sort of sweepstakes or you're just grabbing. Yeah,
learned my lesson. I eventually landed on larger colubrids, so like bull snakes, Chinese king rats, false water cobras, things like that, Crebos. So that's kind of where the crazy plane landed.
Good.
And that's what I keep now. I have some odds and ends stuff, just stuff that again don't fit any need, but I have them because I want them, and
it's cool.
You know,
yeah.
Like I have a frill dragon over here in the lobby of the shop that just hangs out. He's cool.
I mean, that's awesome.
yeah. I mean, I've got a Honduran milk snake that's an ambassador animal. I've got I've got some locality boas. Again, those are all pets. The only thing that I focus on breeding are those larger colubrids. So that's the reptile side. So I eventually got to where I wanted to be with the reptile side.
Okay.
For the coffee, so McKendrick and I, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but my business partner in Cold-Blooded Caffeine, we worked together for 8 or 9 years outside of reptiles, outside of coffee.
Okay.
We worked in automotive manufacturing for 2 different companies, actually. So we worked together at one company for about 2 or 3 years. And then at the other company for the remainder of the time. So McKendrick's background is supply chain, distribution management, mine's customer service, customer success management. So interestingly enough, we always didn't get along very well. He was the materials manager and I was the customer service manager. And so it often came to a head a lot. So the fact that we're actually both still here. Well, I can't really prove that he's still here because
we have to take your word for that. I mean,
he hasn't been seen in a little while, so he hasn't made any public appearances. So
he's still alive. Like
I promise.
I promise. Just don't look over there. Yeah.
So we worked together for about 8 years outside of the coffee business. So we had a little bit of gap. I mentioned that we worked for 2 different companies. In between those 2 different companies, we were both looking for new employment, and we started talking about opening a business back then. So this was 2018. We were looking to start a business. So we had gone through all the ideas. Like we'd done looking at e-commerce, like men's accessories. We looked at warehouses. We looked, anything possible that we thought, hey, we could make some money doing this. See if we could open a business. Let's do it. And we never really landed on anything. So we both ended up finding a job at the same plant again for the next couple of years, and kind of tabled everything. So about 2.5 years ago, we decided, you know what, let's not wait until we need it again. Let's start having these meetings to see if we could come up with something to start a business. And so we did that. So we would meet once a week trying to come up with ideas. And again, it was just stuff that was just random stuff that really didn't make sense. One day, I've always been kind of a coffee nut. I was the guy in the break room at the office with the French press, trying to get boiling water out of the Keurig.
Everybody else is using like K-cups, and you're like, I don't.
I got a little burner on my desk trying to boil water, So I was that guy. So I'd always been into coffee. So I was in the grocery store one day trying to find some coffee, and I started noticing things. I was like, do I want a Brazilian coffee? Do I want a Colombian coffee? Do I want a Costa Rican coffee? And I'm like, oh man, I've got Honduran milk snakes. I've got Colombian boas. I've got Brazilian rainbow boas. Okay, that's interesting. I mentioned to McKendrick, and I was like, hey, this is kind of interesting correlation. Like I know the reptile side. I know what these animals are. I know that there's some things from a conservation standpoint that we can do here. But is coffee good for reptiles? Like, I don't want to go in and like say, hey, let's do coffee and cutting down rainforest to plant coffee trees. And I'm like, oh, that's not a good look. So we researched a little bit, and we found quite a few studies. One of them from like university studies that say coffee is actually good for reptile biodiversity in those habitats. And so a lot of them are like, so just for transparency's sake, coffee is a montane plant. It likes to grow at elevation. So there is a point where reptiles no longer thrive
Right,
according to temperature, right? So like it's not a one-to-one correlation, but where they do overlap, there are studies, and a lot of them are like in India and Vietnam and like Sumatra, where they're lower elevation coffees. They'll do studies with reptile biodiversity and the coffee plants, and they have proven that there are increased level of reptile activity in areas that are producing coffee plants. So we were like, okay, sounds good. That's great. Yeah. And then when you start looking at it more, like you look at organizations that promote coffee conservation, which is like Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade Alliance, all these things. They're doing a lot of work in country to give back, in especially Rainforest Alliance, giving back to the local conservation groups to make sure that they're promoting those old wood forests and things like that. So to make sure that they're keeping the rainforest where they are, not even planting new rainforest, but like preserving the areas that are currently there. So we were able to both prove that reptiles do well in coffee plantations, and also that the organizations that we support, Rainforest Alliance, those kinds of things, are also giving back into the ways that we would like from an animal conservation group standpoint. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's something. It's good that you thought of that, because I wouldn't have. And then like I would have been the one with my hand caught in the cookie jar, been like, oh right, yeah.
So that's me. So I'm the visionary. I come up with a lot of good ideas. And thank goodness that McKendrick's here to, like, you know, rein them back in a little bit, because I've come up with some doozies, man.
That doesn't sound like anybody we know. Wow, that doesn't sound like anybody we know. With somebody like, we should do a magazine, and I'm like, no, no.
Yeah, I'm the one. You know, I've got like bits and pieces and torn up parts and tinkering stuff all over this place. And McKendrick's like, you know what would be nice? Let's just roast some coffee.
Just do that. Like, how about we just do that?
Get a lane here, you know.
Nice.
So yeah.
So okay. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, like, so like the next step after that is like, did you have to go to like coffee school or something? Like, did you have to learn all the different things you have to do for that kind of stuff?
I mean, kind of. So there's enough resources. Most coffee roasters are somewhat self-taught. So it is kind of a culture of tinkering, which is kind of what made I'm a tinkerer. I like that kind of stuff. So that's what kind of interested me in it. There's not like any right or wrong way to do it. People will tell you there's right or wrong ways to do it. And if there's a coffee roaster on here that's listening to this, they'll probably say that I'm wrong. But like you learn, and it's what you want to taste, right? It's an item that you consume, that you roast to what you like. And so the coffee that I roast is the coffee that I like. So I actually have our first coffee roaster. It's like the museum of coffee roasters. So I've got the little coffee roaster up here that I learned on. And if you go to our YouTube channel and look at our commercial coffee roaster 101 video, you'll see this little coffee roaster. And it's about this tall, and it's an air roaster, and it roasts about 6 ounces of coffee at a time. So if you bought a bag of cold-blooded caffeine coffee in probably August to September of 2021, you bought a bag of coffee off this teeny tiny little roaster that I was roasting in my backyard at
Holy shit.
a pop. So it took me about 40 minutes to make one bag. So that was the first.
You better enjoy that bag.
That was blood, sweat, and tears. But I mean, it was many trial and errors roasting on this little coffee roaster to what I liked. I mean, the basic principle is pretty easy to understand. You know, you can read a book and you can say, oh, okay, I do these certain things. And you end up with something that's like, oh, okay, that tastes like coffee. That's great. And to that point, it's kind of encouraging, where you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then you keep tinkering and tinkering and tinkering. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm actually making good coffee now. And then you get encouraged and you're like, okay, now I'm going to buy this new machine. And then you see how I go down that lane again. You see how it gets there. So
I mean, we're reptile nuts. Like, of course there are lanes that we go down, and your toys get more advanced as you progress. Like, it all sounds right.
How difficult is it to even start a coffee business? Is it very competitive? Is it?
It is fairly competitive, but there's also enough coffee drinkers that you can get customers. Like, I mean,
Just room, yeah.
It's a consumable item, so people are willing to like give it a try because their cost of entry isn't very high. You know, you're talking 15 to $20. I'll give it a try and see what this is about. Whereas opposed to the barriers of entry to being a coffee roaster are quite high. So I mean, you can get in like that little machine up there that I was telling you about. That's $250, $300. I mean, that's not a whole lot of investment to like see, oh, I'm really into this, or this isn't going to work out. But then the next step up, there's no good next step, right? It's like, okay, I've got $250. Our next roast, so we have, I guess, technically 3 if you count that one, but we'll never roast on that again, except if like it's a special occasion or something like that, just for fun. At my retirement party, when we're 40 years of cold-blooded caffeine, I might
you'll drink out of it and be like, oh,
that's not that great. Yeah, but our next roaster up is like $3,000 roaster. So you're going from a $250 investment to a $3,000 investment, and that's a 1 kilogram roaster. So you get about 2 bags of coffee out of that roaster at a time.
Wow.
Okay.
And then our big coffee roaster. So we went from that little coffee roaster, the 1 kilogram roaster. We also have a 6 kilogram roaster as well. And that is the one, if you're going to do like commercial production, you're going to have something between 5 and 10 kilograms minimum to do like any level of commercial production, just because of your like economies of scale. Like you're going to have to produce more to offset like your fixed costs. So that 6 kilogram coffee roaster will run you between $30,000 and $40,000. Right. Okay. So you're talking pretty significant. You know, you have to, this has to be a business. You have to like, it's an investment. So, I mean, we probably, with all that equipment, you're putting in a couple $100,000 to start a coffee roasting company. Like we've got weigh fill machines and sealers and grinders and all this kind of stuff. So to roast coffee is not expensive. To be a coffee roasting company is quite a, So
it's not like I have a couple ball pythons and a couple
and take on the world.
No, don't buy a CB70 rack like a 10 CB70 and start cooking. No,
nobody's ditching $5,000 coffee roasters on Craigslist or anything like that.
Unfortunately not.
Damn.
It's funny you said about the so before I got into like let's I guess call it like nerding out about coffee, right? Like I would drink just like any kind of coffee was fine with me. But when you taste like real coffee and then you go back to like a K-cup, it's like drinking dishwater. It's horrible. It's terrible. So
this is a man.
To the guy at work, I'm like, have a French press on my desk, and they're like, why don't you just drink the K-cup? And I'm like, no. Here you go. Taste that. Oh, that's really good.
I have seen Eric in a bind almost get to the point where he was just going to eat the grounds that we found at an Airbnb, because he was like, I need something. I'm like, please don't do this. Like, but
just stick it in like tobacco.
There we go. Here we go.
I don't think that would be too good, but
probably not. How did you like, do you just, is it trial and error with your, because you have there's a bunch of different kinds of coffees you guys offer and recipes, and you can read in the back some of the stuff that you put into these recipes. Is that just trial and error where you're like, tried this and maybe we'll scale back on, I don't know, the nutmeg or something in this one? And
nutmeg.
I don't know. I was just going. I still think I could think of.
Get to that.
Thank you.
Let me just clarify that there's no nutmeg in my coffee.
I couldn't think of anything in my head right now. It has been a long day, but go ahead.
So you threw me off. No, so it depends on the situation. So some like for you guys, when I do private labels, I consult with the person that I'm doing the private label for to determine what their tastes are. So you guys were honestly pretty easy. Like,
yeah,
I knew that I was going to do a Papua New Guinea coffee for you, right? Was there any other option? You know,
no.
So we did the Papua New Guinea, and I think I blended it with another coffee that I know would take the heat well. So doing a darker roasts, you have to understand the individual beans and which beans will take heat well and which beans won't. So denser beans, higher altitude beans will tend to take heat a little bit better, and they won't scorch as they go through the roast process, right? So if they have more moisture content, that moisture content will take a little longer to release, and therefore they will not scorch as fast as like a natural processed low level elevation coffee. Like some of your Brazilian coffees are naturally processed, and all that means is they leave the coffee on the cherry and leave it out in the sun to dry before they take it off out the little bean out of the cherry. And so there's less moisture in it. It's lower elevation. It can reach to a point where it burns a lot faster than some of those other coffees. So to answer your question, you got to know the bean. You got to know the individual bean, where it's coming from, where it was grown, what the processing method is. And two, it comes down to a lot of what origins flavors complement each other. So where there are like, if you talk to a coffee connoisseur, they're going to say a Costa Rican tastes different than an El Salvador, tastes different than a Nicaraguan, tastes different, but they're all Central American coffees, right? They're all have some similar base notes if they're all processed in the same way. Occasionally you'll get some funky like anaerobic processed coffees that taste kind of fermented or something like that. But for the most part, if you're talking about a washed or a natural coffee from those origins, you can predict what the flavor is going to taste like. So you can match those flavors. If I say I want a medium roast chocolatey coffee with some like blackberry undertones, I'll probably take a Colombian and a Honduran, because those two, the Colombian at a medium roast takes a lot of those chocolatey notes, and the Honduran brings in a little bit of acidity with those fruity tartness. So that's how I kind of build it up. But a lot of it is trial and error. I'll have an idea in my head and I'll say, okay, I want to do this. And I'll go for it, and I'll be like, it's not quite right. It's a little too earthy, or it's a little too acidic for what I want to do. And go from there. Now, this is more talking about blends and talking about our affiliate blends and things like that. Single origin coffees are very different. So single origin coffees are from single origin, as the name says, but also even down to single farmer, single estates, right? So you're taking a coffee from an individual farmer in a lot of instances and roasting that coffee. And we don't really mess around with those coffees if we can help it. So those tend to be your higher end. So that Nicaraguan coffee that you mentioned,
that's my week.
that is a single origin coffee. It's a honey processed coffee, so it's even a little bit different than like your normal washed or natural coffees. And so that coffee we don't really mess around with. We have some standard roast profiles. We'll sample roast that coffee when it comes in. So we'll get the bag of coffee, the green coffee. We'll take a sample of it. We'll roast it to like a standard roast curve, and we'll see how that reacts to other coffees that we roast similar to that. And then based on how it reacts, then we can determine whether we increase the heat up front or increase the airflow in the middle of the roast, or all these different things that we can manipulate throughout the roast to make it hit certain points that we want it to hit. So sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you're doing that taste testing and brewing, what's your preferred method for brewing?
Do you swash it around in your mouth and spit it out, or like is it?
So my preferred, so it's kind of two different answers. So my preferred my preferred brew method is Chemex. So I almost exclusively at home use a Chemex. Do I have one somewhere? No, I don't. I usually keep one back here. I was going to show everyone what that looks like, but I use a Chemex at home. It's a pour over method, and it does it's got kind of a thicker filter that gets some of those fine particulates out, so you don't get bitter or super acidic tones. It kind of smooths everything out. I really enjoy Chemex. But when we're talking about sample roasting, the standard for cupping, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
And if you see us at a show, that's what we brew with at shows. So if you have a cup of coffee from us at any of the shows that we vend, that is what it's brewed on. So
cool.
And it's because it's my favorite and it's my business and I can do what I want.
So let me, I'm with you. I think it's a good method. Do you do a swirl at the end?
Yes,
Swirl it?
we'll twist. Yeah.
Okay.
But to answer your
yes.
question though, when we're doing sample roasts though, the standard coffee industry standard is called cupping. So it's actually just a bowl and you put coffee grounds in the bowl and you let them steep for like 4 minutes. And then you may have seen them and you may have laughed at them, but it's the taster will slurp really loud. So they'll take the little scoop. It's got the grounds in it. And so they'll take a little scoop off the top and they'll go, and taste the coffee that way. So they do it for a reason. But that's the standard for when you're sampling coffee so that you can be consistent every time. And the reason they make the loud slurping sound is to one, cool the coffee as it's coming in, and also to spray it through your olfactory system as well. So your taste buds only have like 5 or 6 taste, like can only detect 5 or 6 flavors, but your olfactory can detect hundreds. So that's why they do that, is to get that fragrance and that aroma back to the back of your throat so that it can go into your olfactory senses. So next
time I go herping with all the guys, I'm just gonna be like, I'm making sure that the whole palate is. They're gonna throw me out of the car. Like, is what's gonna happen.
When they're all sleeping and I'm up in the morning, they're gonna.
Eric's up at 4 a.m. because he doesn't sleep. Yeah. So.
Okay. Chemex. That's it. Yeah. I like that method. That's a good one. Do you like that one for a particular reason or?
I think it gives the most balanced cup of coffee. So like I mentioned, it's got a little bit thicker of a filter paper. So it kind of filters out a lot of the fine particulates that other methods, some V60s have thinner paper. Some French press is really known for the particulate. So if you do a French press at the bottom of your cup, there's usually like gritty grounds at the bottom. The V6 the Chemex filters all that stuff out. So it's a pretty balanced cup of coffee. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's quite delicious. Delicious. Do you have one, Owen?
I do not. No, I do not.
I know what to get you.
we have Cold-Blooded Caffeine branded Chemexes available on www.coldbloodedcaffeine.com.
Oh, nice.
I do not. I'm still working with the Mr. Coffee drip kind of a thingy. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, still room for you to grow. It's all right.
Yeah.
But I have been enjoying, I've been actually been brewing your guys' stuff and then drinking it cold. So in the morning. So I've just been kind of do that, which is tastes great either way. Like hot or cold, I'm good with it. So
nice. So how hard is it to secure beans? Is that a difficult process?
It depends on the bean. So probably the most common beans that you'll get, Brazil, Colombia, those are fairly readily available. They're imported pretty much all year. We have an import. So I'm based out of Charleston, South Carolina. So we have a pretty significant port right here. We have an importer, a pretty large coffee importer that is, probably 20 minutes from here at the roastery. So we can get coffee pretty easy. Like if I just want any coffee, but like, for instance, so we have an affiliate, Adeline Robinson. So I think you guys have done some work with her, but she has an Ecuadorian coffee, and that's a little bit more of a specialty coffee, even within the specialty coffee industry. And so we had to, seek that out and find an importer, because our normal importer doesn't source from Ecuador. So a lot of it has to do with the relationships that the importers have with the farmers or with the exporters in country, and which ones they can get in. So the Ecuadorian coffee, we had to go to another importer. We're working right now on, there's a local Jamaican restaurant that's doing a cafe. We're working on them to do a Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, and that is quite a rare coffee and quite a difficult coffee to get. So we have sourced it, but again, it's one of those things where you don't just go online and be like, type in I want coffee. You can, but if you're not a business, you're not going to be able to get it in any quantities. Like you'll be able to buy like a pound or two. Like you can go on to a bunch of these green coffee wholesalers and they'll send you a pound or two of coffee, but a pound or two of coffee doesn't do me a whole lot of good. No. We're buying coffee that's packaged for us, and you can actually see the bag actually on the background of this video, that burlap bag. That's actually a coffee import bag. They're 66 kilogram bags, which is about 150 pounds, 160 pounds. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but somewhere around 150 pound bags each, and we'll get pallets of 10 of those at a time. So you have to go to an importer or direct to a farmer to do that. So it depends. Long answer to your question. It depends on the coffee. It depends on the coffee. How hard it is to get.
Okay.
And I saw a comment in the Aeropress. I do enjoy an Aeropress. The difference for me between like Aeropresses and French presses, just a quick summary. Aeropresses and French presses are immersion methods. So the coffee sits inside the water. Whereas Chemexes are like brew through methods. So brew through methods tend to have more consistency of the brew because you're controlling the flow of the water, as opposed to immersion methods where all the grounds are already in there and you're not controlling anything. So that's the only really difference. I love an Aeropress. I think it makes a great cup of coffee. I prefer brew through methods because they give the absolute control, and I'm just a nut that cares about that kind of stuff. So that's why I use a Chemex and a V60.
I like to watch the bloom as well. I don't know what it is. It's like, oh, look, very nice. That's when the carbon dioxide is coming off in the very beginning, Owen. You have to.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll get there, Owen.
Thank you. I need.
It's okay.
I need the right equipment. I just look at it and go, yes, faster.
There was a trick. There is a trick for drip ones that I saw some YouTube video somewhere that they talked about how if you turn it on and you allow, I think it's for like maybe 40 seconds, right? It'll start to go, and you turn it off and let you'll like lift up the top of the coffee and you'll see it blooming in the top. So it's like it sort of like looks like bubbles almost.
Like a mushroom.
So let that go. And I think it's 40 seconds that you let it bloom, and then you turn it back on and try it. See if
just get
it. Or just point me towards the proper equipment. You
have a grinder, right?
Okay. I've seen those videos too, and I mean, there's some things that you can do pretty easily to improve your home brewing setup. Actually, there's a PDF on our website. If you're interested, check it out. The 5 ways to quickly improve your home brewing. But that is one of them. Is one of the main ones is watch your heat. So a lot of your home brewers, your Mr. Coffees and things like that, the heating element is actually located in the burner. So the same element that heats the burner that the pot sits on is the same element that heats the water. And so the first 30 seconds or so of that water isn't really super hot. And so you can help your coffee by actually pouring some hot water into the reservoir instead of just using a regular water out the tap or something.
Oh, okay.
I told Robert it worked for him. I don't know. I guess I think it's like you don't know what you like. You don't know that you're missing out on what it tastes like until you taste better coffee. And every time you taste better coffee, you're like, like when we were in Australia. Oh my God, man! Usually I don't drink any kind of milk or anything in my coffee. I like it black, but they had a flat white at this. I don't even know. It was I guess it was just like a local breakfast shop or brekkie shop, as they call it.
Place where you got food. Yeah.
I had to go back because it's the first time the guy ever made the flat white. And I was like, dude, that was the best cup of coffee I've had forever. Now, it could be that I was in Australia for a week and we were coming towards the end of it and
tired.
I was having shit coffee all week. I don't know. when I went back in, I said I have to get another cup because that was, oh my God, it was just so good. But like when you get that good coffee, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but that's just, I don't know. When you taste it,
I think it's the same thing with a lot of things. Like you can say the same things with fine wine or like, a nice craft beer or something like that, where you can tell the quality difference of somebody who mass produced versus, took their time and focused on quality and things like that. So,
I think any kind of food or drink, you kind of have like, this is the quick and dirty method, which it'll get you there. This is one where we take our time and we kind of find little ways to kind of prepare it a little differently to make it a better experience. And it's like, and that shows. Like,
it's just like Reptiles. Do you want somebody that's just like shooting out like just reptiles, or do you want to go to the person that's like the person for that species?
Do you want to order your geckos by the pound, or do you want to go and get like an actual?
Well, I don't know, with all those colubrids you got, man, it might be the way you have to go.
I have not. No, I do have. But say I have not gotten several color. No, I have like 5 colibri clutches right now. It's like, you shut up. To answer your question, you shut up. Yeah.
So I think like, I don't know. Tell me, what would you recommend as far as water goes when it comes to coffee? Right. I think like there's only 2 ingredients, right? Coffee and water. So it's
H2O,
kind of important, right?
Water is incredibly important. So if possible, and I know it's not really feasible all the time, we do recommend using spring water for brewing your coffee if you can. If not, like a Brita filter or anything that you can take out some of the chlorine and additives out of your tap water is definitely recommended. In addition to just having, you're trying to control everything that goes into your coffee. So you want to be as consistent as possible with the 2 ingredients that you have, like you mentioned. Coffee, you let me handle that. I'll get you good coffee. Water, I gotta trust that you're going to take care of. So yeah,
I can't send you water.
Control it as much as possible.
But aren't there people that get like really serious about it? And isn't there additives you can add?
There are additives that you can, like, there are companies that make specifically like coffee tablets, like tablets for
the water,
to put in your water to make it better for coffee.
Yeah. So, but like,
you can go down this rabbit hole as far as you want to go.
I was going to say, like, what if you have like a hard water?
Far down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If you have a hard water, like, one of those places where hey, you should get water softeners kind of stuff. That's something that could really affect that.
Yes. Damn. Yeah. So we do some installation and service of espresso machines, and for espresso machines, we absolutely recommend a water softener.
Okay.
For your home brew equipment, I mean, as long as you're like doing your maintenance for your brewers, at least relatively. I know everybody doesn't do it per the manufacturer specifications, I know, but as long as you're doing at least somewhat descaling and deliming your machines periodically, yes.
But if you have a Chemex, you don't have to worry about it.
But if you're my father, you think that the 50 years just gave it more flavor of not cleaning the coffee pot. So
somehow I could see your dad.
Yeah, you are. Yes,
that old Mr. Coffee from 1976.
I made him throw it away. Like it was.
So the answer to the question about the pH. Yes, pH does matter. No, I don't know what the right pH is. Coffee, I'm sorry. I'm not a barista. I'm a roaster. So again, you got to handle the water. I handle the coffee. But I apologize. I mean, I don't know what it is, what the right pH is for coffee.
Here was another one about. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said if you want to know the answer, those tablets are for, among other things, managing the pH and adding some trace elements that are beneficial to the coffee flavor is what those tablets that we were talking about before. So darker teas, hotter water, darker roasts for coffee. No. So we recommend 205 degrees is the number that we try to hit for our brew temperature. 205 to 208, depending on, how accurate you want to be, but you want it just below boiling is the key. And that's consistent across across all roast levels, because the coffee itself, the way that it extracts the dissolved solids, regardless of whether it's a light roast or a dark roast, it's going to dissolve relatively similar rates. So as long as the temperature is between 205 and 208, you'll be okay. Just like tea, for the person that asked that question, I'm sorry, I didn't see who asked it, but Desert Creature. So the tea, just like you would do with the tea, generally I boil the water to 212 and then take it off the kettle off the heat for about 30 seconds with the lid off, and by that time you're going to hit about 205 to 208 in your temperature. If you're using a kettle, if you're using a brewer, you're at the mercy of the brewer. As I mentioned, you can help that along a little bit by, if you've got a reservoir, by using hot water into the machine to help it along, because a lot of those residential style brewers, those home brewers, aren't going to really get up to that level a lot of times. 200 is not bad. I wouldn't go any lower than 200 for that last comment.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Cool.
Water is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about grind size? How does that, if you're grinding it?
Yeah.
If you are grinding it, you should be grinding it. Caveat number one. You should be grinding it.
I can't get mine to work. Well, have you ground it? What? Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah, because
those
whole beans, they just don't brew quite right. So grind size does matter. For a regular like Mr. Coffee Maker drip brewer, you're looking for like a medium fine coarse, medium fine grind. And you can run the gamut. It's really depends on your brewer, and you need to test and adjust based on your individual brewer. That's why I do recommend, we do sell ground coffee for the convenience, but I do recommend you getting a grinder and getting a burr grinder. Please save your money. Do not get a blade grinder, the ones with the little blades that spin around and knock the coffee all over the place. Save your money. Get a burr grinder.
Damn it.
I knew we should have had this episode before I bought shit.
Take it back.
Yeah. Just give it to my father.
But we recommend you getting whole beans so that you can adjust and fine tune to that machine to get the optimal extraction out of it. So espresso, you're going to go super fine. So because you're trying to condense that coffee as much as possible and create a lot of pressure. On the other end of the spectrum, cold brew is about as coarse as you go, because you want maximum surface, or you want maximum contact with that coffee particle, right? With cold brew, because you're going to let it sit for longer. Everything else is kind of in the middle. Those are the two extreme. Well, Turkish coffee is the most extreme, but I don't think anybody out here is going to be. I don't brew Turkish coffee. I don't think anybody else is brewing Turkish coffee.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
Have you had it?
Because what's the craziest coffee you had?
No, for me?
Yeah.
Have you had it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was like, Owen, wow.
No.
A grinder?
No, I've never had Turkish coffee.
I have the Turkish coffee every day. Yeah, no.
But for those that don't know what we're talking about, it's actually brewed in sand. So it's a heated sand pit, and there's a little copper thingy.
If you can watch them brew it, it is some of the coolest stuff ever, watching them do that.
Yeah, but that's super, super fine grind. And you go through, so like your home brewer is about square in the middle in terms of coarseness, and then your pour overs, your Chemexes, your V60s, that thing.
There you go. Yep.
There you go. Owen's only $16.
All right, I'll fill my fire pit with sand and just be out there every morning.
That's you.
Yeah, perfect.
Grind size really does matter, but I can't tell you which is the right for you. You're just going to have to taste it. So if, for instance, if you grind to fine for your brewer, you'll get a lot of like sour notes. It'll over extract. And if you grind too coarse, you'll get less body. So more watery coffee, it'll under extract. So that's kind of how you can grind it in, or kind of, dial it in a little bit.
Okay.
So that would be how you would dial it in, is the grind size?
Just by taste. Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of times, so when you're doing a pour over, you have like three ways to manipulate. You have temperature, you have the amount of water in, and you have the coffee itself. So grind size and the amount of coffee. So maybe 4. Let's break those down into 4. Okay. So you have water, you have temperature, you have grind size, and you have amount of coffee.
Okay.
With your Mr. Coffee, you don't have a lot of that, right?
Right.
You don't have the amount of water. It regulates that for you. You don't have the temperature of the water. It does that for you. You have the amount of coffee you put in, and you have the grind of the coffee. Those are the 2 things that you can manipulate. Right. So if you're getting watery coffee, you either need to add more coffee or you need to grind finer.
Gotcha.
If you're getting sour coffee, you either need to use less coffee or you need to grind coarser.
Got it.
Okay.
But only adjust one variable at a time, just like anything else. Don't change everything.
If you change 3 things, then you don't know which one that fixed it. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. So, and that's what you do. I mean, you just adjust it until it meets your taste, and everybody's taste is different. And you just adjust it until you're like, oh, that's the cup of coffee that I want to taste.
So. Gotcha. Okay.
Cool.
I was going to switch it to, so have you been able to go to any of these like farms? And if so, when do you like squeeze in herping when you get there?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Unfortunately, I have not.
Okay.
But McKendrick has. So
okay.
He's been to Cuba and visited a coffee farm in Cuba. He just got back from Mexico. He is not the reptile guy, so he did not squeeze in any herd into the trip. He was all business, unfortunately. As opposed to me, who's stuck here roasting and running the business while he's out gallivanting. Yeah, I can talk bad about him because
he's not here. Yeah,
he's not there.
That is the rule. Yeah,
that is the rule. Yes, 100%. Very good. We were just talking about. Oh man, it just totally slipped my mind. We were talking about the grind size and whatnot, and how you would manipulate it, and I had a question, and now it went out of my head. Hold on, should have wrote it down. Oh, yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you about.
Okay,
so Luke, so every week we try a different coffee. By the way, you have these 2 new blends that I just got today. I was
about to ask.
The Rainforest and Nocturnal.
Yeah,
Nocturnal is interesting sounding. Go on.
It's dark. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm
go on.
About that one. No, I just lost my. God damn it.
You were talking to Lucas, and he had
peaberry coffee.
God,
what is
damn
that?
it?
Sorry,
the little pea berry.
Pea berry.
It's the type of bean. So Okay. So coffee is normally, so for those that don't know, coffee is a cherry. So it's a fruit, and the inside of it has the beans. So most varietals of coffee have 2 beans inside. A pea berry has 1. It's a pea.
Okay.
Little, yeah.
So it has 1.
Gotcha.
So that's a pea berry. It's 1 bean inside of the coffee cherry.
It's the only difference.
And it's a different varietal of coffee. It's different. Yeah. So I mean, just like anything else, like if you, I don't know, what are people into? Japanese maples, anything else? There's like 1,000 different cultivars of yeah. Coffee's the same way. People are like, oh, this tastes good. Now let's manipulate this and change
this and alter this. Yeah.
So, I mean, some are more disease tolerant than others. Some have different flavor notes than others. Some grow better in certain climates than others. So that's why they have them. But, the pea berry. So you'll hear like geisha coffee is another one that you'll hear pretty commonly. That's another varietal of coffee. So, yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Very cool. How is it vending the reptile shows with, I mean,
coffee?
I would think that would be
fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's been very well received, first of all. So we do well at the shows. We have decided to slim down kind of the shows we did. So last year we did 24 shows, which is a lot of shows.
Yeah.
But we have narrowed it down. So this year we are only doing NARBC shows this year.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with the venues or anything like that. It just has to do with foot traffic, honestly.
Yeah.
We're selling $5 cups of coffee. You got to have a lot of people through the door to make up that cost. So that being said, we've so we do Chemexes at the show. So like I think I mentioned earlier, if you come see us at a show, we do brew out of the Chemexes. We will, and that was kind of a lucky first try, I think. So that was the first thing we ever tried. We tried the Chemexes, and I think it's the best option.
And it worked.
It worked. So we stuck with it. We've tried drip brewers. We've brought them along a couple of times. There's something about the visual appeal of the pour over that draws people in.
Yeah.
And so that works. So that was the lucky first step to vending a show. The initial setup wasn't that bad in terms of vending a show. So in South Carolina, we're pretty decent in terms of laws that regulate coffee. So you don't have to have Department of Health certifications for coffee in South Carolina, because you're literally boiling coffee.
You can't hurt. You can't. Nobody's going to get you. All the things are boiled. It's
as long as it's not cold brew that I'm bringing from a location. If I'm brewing it on site, I don't have to have any special permits in South Carolina, according to the Department of Health.
Cool.
So that's nice. So a lot of the shows that we started, we obviously started locally, doing the local shows. But then when we started to branch out and do some of the larger shows or out of state shows, we started to encounter some of those health code type issues. So we have to have 4 sinks when we do shows. So we have to have a hand wash station, which is pretty standard for any food service. We have to have, and then we have to have a 3 sink that's separate from the hand wash, that's wash, rinse, sanitize, with separate, drains and everything. We also have to have refrigeration, commercial refrigeration for any milk products. And I think that might be it. And of course, anywhere that we go, we have to get approval. Either some places that we go, like we do Tinley Park, they don't require any permit per se. We just have to tell them that we're going and that we do the checklist. So we didn't pay them anything to do Tinley. When we do St. Louis, we have to apply for a food service permit, like a food truck. Essentially.
Gotcha.
So it depends on where we go. We have to know the local laws. It's also dependent on the type of coffee that we're serving. So because we're doing pour overs that have an open vessel, we have to abide by a little bit more strict laws than if we were brewing into a contained vessel, like a drip brewer or something like the Hampton Inn that you stay at probably doesn't have a coffee food vendor certification. They're just that, because they're brewing into a pot and they're setting that pot out there and nobody's touching it, they're fine. But because I'm pouring the coffee and handing it to you, I have to have a food service permit for a lot of these areas. So it depends on where you go. But that's been the biggest learning curve, is understanding, being proactive and understanding what each venues and each cities' rules are. Also venues, depending on the venue that you go to, it can have an impact on whether you can serve coffee or not to start with. So like we've encountered at least one venue that they said, no, you cannot serve coffee. And we had another venue that said, yes, you can serve coffee, or two other venues actually that said, yes, you can serve coffee, but you have to give us 20% of the profits, because we have a coffee maker over there and we're not going to sell coffee if you're selling coffee. And so you have to give us 20% of your profits.
Wow.
No.
And first of all, I'm a little insulted to think that your little Mr. Coffee.
I'm like, first, no.
I'm like, you can serve coffee. If you
go ahead,
serve
try,
coffee, that's fine. I think that's capitalism, right?
Yeah. That's how this goes. Yeah. No.
Do you want a McDonald's burger or this Kobe beef burger?
Right. Come on, man. But no, so obviously they're the venue, so I can't
Sure.
And usually they don't let you know that until you're already loaded in and set up, and you'll be like, okay, well, I'm in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I'm not going home.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess take my 20%.
God.
Has
it been well received with the reptile community? Yeah,
it has very much been. So I think when I had the idea, when we started talking about it, I knew that there might be a market there. I knew that we were the only people that were doing it for sure. I knew that there was. So we had cornered the market. What size that market was yet to be determined.
Right.
But really, everyone that we've encountered has been so open, so supporting. There's been a few that have asked, that have declined us serving coffee at their events, and that's okay. Like I get it. If you have an image for your business, just like I have an image for my business, and we don't fit that, that's okay. There's no hard feelings there. But no one has, I have never heard in the year and a half that we've been doing this, what are you doing here? Why are you here? It's always been like, great, the coffee guys are here.
I mean, it's got to be better than
we've been drinking that shit over.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So no, everybody's been well received. I mean, it's like I said, I kind of not cheated, but I had a leg into the reptile side, so I knew enough people locally to at least get things started at reptile shows. But yeah, I couldn't have asked for any more. I mean, this industry has been so well received to the coffee, and every time that I go to a show, at least one person comes up and says, "Oh, that's a great idea. That's wonderful. Good, good job." And usually somebody's like, "Oh man, I thought somebody should start a coffee company and they would do well, and look at you do it." And I was like, "Yeah."
Nice.
Has anybody tried to offer you I'll trade you a ball python for this much coffee? Not yet. It'll happen.
It's happened. It's happened. I unfortunately don't accept. Well, I'm not going to say no trades for coffee.
I mean, it has to be a good trade.
It has to be a good trade.
Let's not slam the door.
I didn't see that on the website when I was trying to order some coffee.
You didn't see that? Yeah.
No,
you don't have have the Collier Bridge stuff he wants. That's the reason you didn't see it. I see it, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and message me after the show. Yeah.
How many king rats you want? I got you.
Right. I'll hook you up.
Yeah. Did you just have a clutch of those, Owen?
Yeah. I just got a clutch of king rats. Yeah.
Eggs or babies? I can't remember with you. You have so many.
I refuse to answer that question because
eggs and babies.
No, they're just no. I have babies from last year, but yeah, they have eggs, dude.
Oh, eggs again.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
eggs and baby. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have two babies from last year, and I have eggs. And the weird thing about Collier Bridge is that they might have more later. She ain't done. She dropped 2 clutches last year.
This may be a dumb question. I'm not really a Colubra guy, right? But since you two guys are, do all Colubras double clutch?
They have the potential.
Even Asian Colubras?
I mean,
they could. They can.
Yeah,
is that just a North American thing?
Yeah.
No. All of them can. It's just depends on the food, how much she eats and stuff like that. And my male king rat has been away from the female for a week, and every day his cage is just tore the hell apart because he wants back in with her. So I'm giving her another feeding, and then he's going right back in because I'm tired of putting his cage back together every morning.
I think that most all of them can. Or I haven't encountered any that haven't been able to, but some are more prone to it than others.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But like Owen was saying, you can generally tell. Once those males start getting antsy, it's go time.
Everything's in the air.
I just say that because I can't ever remember Rob saying to me "Oh, this Rhino double clutch."
Well, first off, I wouldn't double cut your Rhino.
I was about to say that's one of the ones that
okay.
But shouldn't.
Okay. All right.
Some just don't look good after they lay eggs.
Yeah,
and Rhinos are right up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. My Rhino's good for 1 clutch a year, and that's all I would do. So if I want more clutches of Rhinos, I'm gonna need some more Rhinos.
All right, here's the question, Colubra question. Are you a Rhino rats person or a Barons racer person? Which is the way?
Yeah.
I have Rhinos and not Barons. So
there you go. Okay. Team Rhino. What about you, Owen? I know you're
both.
still on the fence.
I have both. Wait.
Which one is upstairs in your prestige spot?
That's not fair. Okay. The Rhinos are upstairs.
Yeah.
The Bears are still growing.
Bears? I didn't say bears. What are you talking about?
Bears. Barons. God, it's been a long week. And they're still growing too. The Barons are still growing. I told you I like the blue Barons Racer a little bit more than the Rhino, just because it's a bigger Collier. They're absolutely gorgeous.
You guys are big Colubras, man.
Yeah, what do you want from me? It's okay. Shut up. But if I had the space, they would have. If I had the space, and the same exact kind of tank. It would be like right across, and then the Barons would be right over there. So
okay,
they do this for me, depending on what's going on.
Okay,
so
it depends on the time of year, the time of week, how you've been feeling, all that kind of stuff.
If the female Barons is a little twitchy, like she gets that when she's hungry, and she kind of scares me a little bit. But yeah, so
switching back to coffee.
Yeah. now back to that stuff.
I remember the question I was going to ask earlier. What's your go-to ratio, beans to water?
1 to 15.
1 to 15. Okay.
So that's 1 part coffee to 15 parts water. So I mean, and you can fluctuate it. I think like the industry standard is between 1 to 15 to 1 to 17 for drip coffee, and 1 to 1 to 1 to 2.5 for espresso. So it depends on your personal taste, whether you, so like the more coffee that you have per water ratio, obviously it's going to be fuller bodied. You're going to get a little bit of a stronger cup. So if you don't like that, you can dilute it a little bit, but don't try and not go more than 1 to 17, which then calls into the point to say, if you don't know what your ratio is, measure your coffee.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Don't eyeball it. I do it too. Don't,
Okay.
I do it too.
Because I'm like trying to think, like, how big is that reservoir on the? But I don't know.
I make a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever like actually sleep, or is it just like you
rarely
wind down? Like,
no, I actually don't drink as much coffee as I would otherwise, because I'm working in coffee and I smell like coffee all the time. So
right.
I mean, I still drink coffee, but like, I think this is my first cup of coffee today.
Okay.
So, So
yeah, it was like it's the same thing. I remember when I was young and I was working. They were training me to be a manager, and they sent me to all the different departments, and I worked in the bakery department for a month. And at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. It smells the cinnamon rolls every day. Oh, it's delicious. By the end of the month, you're like, oh, if I see another goddamn cinnamon roll, I swear to God.
Now, I do love coffee.
Okay.
And I will have to say that coming home smelling like coffee beats coming home smelling like snake crap or rat crap. About 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
There is that. So I'm not complaining about the coffee smell.
Right.
It's just that when I come into work, I don't think about making coffee anymore. Well, I think about making coffee, but it's roasted coffee instead of
not drinking coffee.
Now,
Right.
So.
Oh wow. Okay. Has there been any is there any like technology that, well, let me ask this first. What's the response been from non-reptile people? They're saying like, what's that reptile doing on here?
Why is there a lizard on here?
I mean, I get the joke with people every once in a while to say that I like filter it through snake shed, or
about to say, like, can our next signature
bang in it or something?
Can our next signature blend be like a civet coffee, but like through a carpet?
But like, for sure. I mean, again, what you do with the coffee after I give it to you,
it doesn't matter.
Completely up to you. 100%.
Totally your call, bro.
No judgment. Wouldn't recommend.
Please don't do that.
Yes,
that is not good for you or the animal.
Or the animal. No one enjoys it after that. Like,
I don't think you'll be allowed to do that at the reptile shows either. I think that, the Food and Drug Administration would probably have a problem.
Also, it's a long line. I have to wait for this snake to crap before I can make your coffee for you. It's not good.
Yeah. So to answer the question though, wow, that got
that went out far.
So yeah, it's been well received. We have to be careful about how we approach it, because I mean, one of the missions of the company is to help bridge that gap between reptile people and non-reptile people, and to make it a little bit more approachable. So you introduce people with coffee, and then you can talk about conservation and lead people in that way, instead of saying like, hey, my 2-car garage is full of snakes, you want to come over and see them? That can be an interesting conversation.
Hey,
look at the benefits of this coffee, and Look at what all the positive things that we can do with this coffee for the environment, for these ecosystems. Look at all these cool animals that come from these areas. Like, that's why we have the ambassador animals in the roastery to show. We were particular when we picked those animals out. So we got a hunter and milk snake. We have New Guinea frilled dragon, things like that are native to areas where our coffee is grown. We can then introduce people to the coffee, or to the reptiles through the coffee. We do have quite a few non-reptile people that buy our coffee, both as private label and as cold-blooded caffeine for distribution. Okay. So that's going well. We do have to start with the conservation piece so that people can understand what we do, why we do. But I think within the next month we'll have a spot. Well, we have a spot airing currently on the local radio stations for cold-blooded caffeine. So we have a distribution company as well, which is called the Coffee Run. So if you're in the Charleston, South Carolina area and you want coffee delivered to your business, we deliver not only cold-blooded caffeine coffee, but also like Starbucks and Folgers and all these other coffees that you can get to your office. So we have spots airing on the radio for the Coffee Run, which has the same logo. And so we got to talk to like the DJs at the radio station about reptiles and about conservation and about how positive things can be, giving back to conservation initiatives, helping reptiles in coffee producing countries. So nobody's ever been like, oh, that's got a reptile on it, I don't want your coffee. But it also does take a little bit more of an explanation to be like, why is there a gecko? We also chose the gecko on purpose. Yeah. That was a very conscious decision instead of just like a viper, like a rattlesnake.
I feel like if you were making hot sauce, viper, coffee, gecko. Yeah, all right, I get it. Yeah.
So that was a very conscious decision. And everybody's like, oh, look at the little gecko. Like the Coffee Run, the delivery service, the gecko's driving the truck. So like he's on the logo, nice. Driving the truck. So we try and make it as approachable as you can. I'm not going to lead you off with the retic or the berm or the rattlesnake or something. We're going to go in with the day gecko. Hey, look, it's the Geico gecko.
Yeah, it's a happy little lizard. They can't possibly hurt you. Yeah,
we'll go in from that angle. So yeah,
I think probably I mean I wouldn't know if it seems like more people are concerned with, at least being in the food industry. I see that a lot where more people are concerned with where their food is coming from, how it's, is it ethical from, where they're getting it from, all those types of things. So that's
very much so. Yeah. We get those questions. That's probably top 5 question that we get is, how do we source the beans? What are we looking at? And a lot of that, we work with the importer to make sure that we're getting certified coffee. A lot of times when you look at our website, you won't see the certifications for the coffee, because when you blend the coffee, you can't call it. Like if one is Rainforest Alliance certified and the other is not, I can't say that's a Rainforest Alliance certified coffee. Okay. So know that's why there's not those certifications on our website, is because we do a lot of affiliate coffees, and those blended coffees will have a mix of a bunch of different things, and we can't call them Rainforest Alliance certified. We are, as a company, Rainforest Alliance certified. We have Rainforest Alliance certified coffees, but we can't call those blends Rainforest Alliance certified. And so on and so forth. Another big one is like the fair trade coffees. And with that, what fair trade coffees are, for those that aren't familiar, is I'm going to call it a tax for lack of a better term, but it's like a minimum requirement charge that goes on top of the commodity coffee price that makes sure that goes directly back to the farmers. So to make sure that they get at least a minimum price per pound for that coffee. So with specialty coffee, we're even going above and beyond that in a lot of cases anyway. So like, for instance, I think most people are aware that coffee is a commodity. Like, it's on the New York Stock Exchange. It is a commodity that you can buy and sell and trade. And depending on the time of year and the year or where we are and how that stock is trading, it can be anywhere from like $1.50 to $2 somewhere a pound. Wherever that coffee's trading, as opposed to like our kind of average coffee that we buy is about $4.50 a pound. So there's already quite a bit on top of that, and some of that is that fair trade tax that we pay to get that
Gotcha.
fair trade certification, but some of it is actually you're paying that farmer for that additional quality as well, and that's going back. So the fair trade piece, that's a certification that ensures it goes back to the farmer as opposed to just going back into the supply chain, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that does. What about do you have with your, just say traveling around with the reptile shows and all, where's your go-to spot for a cup of coffee?
I love like local coffee shops. I try to find local coffee shops. I can't really name any off the top of my head. I mean, I don't go out a lot. I brew my own coffee most of the time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But
As you should.
anywhere that I go, I do try and find the local shop. And when I do go and find a local shop, I will buy a bag of their coffee because I think it's always good to taste other people's stuff. And like with anything, coffee is a science and an art. So there's subtleties to it that, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't think about taking that coffee to that roast degree or, whatever it is. And so I can improve my own coffee roasting by tasting other people's stuff. So I try to find there's a couple of spots here in town, in Charleston that I go to. So like Second State Coffee is a big one that I enjoy. Highfalutin Coffee is another one. Kudu Coffee. There's a bunch of them. I try to go to like some local places wherever I go and grab a bag. Some of them are roasters, like Second State is a roaster, and have cafes, and then others are just cafes that have roasters that provide their coffee. But either way, I enjoy tasting different people's stuff, different people's takes on certain things. You really, just explore different options. The Jamaican Blue Mountain. Sorry, I saw the comment. You're going to hate what that coffee is going to cost a month. A pure Jamaican Blue. Right now, I mean, I'll be transparent with you. I bought that coffee for $21 a pound. That's green. That's uncooked, unroasted green coffee, $21 a pound.
Wow.
So that's going to retail somewhere around $35 a pound for 100% Jamaican Blues. Because it's tough to get, man. It's tough to get.
I was about to ask, like, is there a type, or is there I don't want to say locality of coffee, but that's kind of where I'm going. Is there a coffee that you kind of want to add to your like that you want to disperse? Because I know we have the Papua New Guinea. Is there somewhere else that you kind of want to grab coffee from that you haven't grabbed coffee yet?
Not really. I mean, I enjoy doing the one-off stuff, but like the one-off stuff, when I get the one-off, like the Jamaican that we talked about, it's quite a bit of work to get it to production, and especially with that coffee, there's a lot of risk, right? I'm taking a lot of risk because every time I get it wrong, that boom, $21, boom, $21, right?
Oh God.
So yeah, I do. And like I said, I get them. Well, the Jamaican coffee's in 30 kilogram bags, but most of the coffee that I get are 60 or 66 kilogram bags. So that's not, let me pop down to the grocery store and get a $20 bag of coffee. So if I'd say let's just talk $5 a pound, and that's 150 pounds of coffee, you're talking close to $1,000 that I've invested in a coffee before I even know. Wow. Dragon Layer, I'll hook you up. Send me a message. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have that on the website?
No, it's not good. I literally got the sample in today.
Eric's like,
yeah. So with coffees like that, we'll sample. Well, most coffees, we'll talk to the importer and we'll get a sample in. So we'll roast it and we'll say, oh, this is to our standard, or well, it's not, because there's a lot that goes on in the supply chain.
Gotcha.
Before it gets to us, to make sure like every step will place their mark on it. So they'll say each person will give a tasting note, it'll get scored. And so you're paying for the score that each of those points in the supply chain have given it. So at the end of the supply chain is me. I get to sample it as well and make sure that it meets what the other members are saying it is. So I just got that sample in today, so I'll roast it before I haven't even ordered the coffee yet. Like I got this in and I'm going to say, yes, that's good for $21 a pound, or I'm not
No,
paying
it's not.
$21 a pound for that.
Right.
You know, I think you said dishwater for that Keurig earlier. I think
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that was the technical term.
Dishwater, yeah. It's like flavored dishwater. It's terrible.
So, but yeah, we'll have that. I don't know if it'll go on the website anytime soon.
Okay.
Because like I mentioned, it was a special request from a restaurant. But for those that hear this, know that I will have it. So you may request it from me. So just send me a message. It's not one of those that it's going to sell very well for us to put on the website at $35 a pound.
$35 a pound, yeah.
$15 to $20 a pound. So I'm going to get kicked off the internet if I put something up there for $35. So send me a message if you want Jamaican coffee, and I'll hook you up.
Call it Blue Label, and they push it up there a little bit. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a special. It's your holdback coffee.
You'll see. You do have to be really careful when you talk about these high-end specialty coffees, like the Kona coffee that was mentioned in the comments as well. That's another one. You'll see Kona coffee and Jamaican coffee for a lot cheaper than what I mentioned, and that's because, like, I think legally, if it's 10% or more of a blend, you can call it that origin. So the Kona coffee that you're getting for $15 is a 10% blend. There's no way. There's no way that $15 bag of coffee is pure Kona.
It's like all natural.
Yeah. Okay.
So the same thing with the Jamaican coffee. If you're buying a Jamaican Blue Mountain for $15 to $20, it's not 100% Jamaican Blue Mountain.
High percentage.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Like it is,
but
what
it's
it is.
not.
Like,
but it's not.
Know that if you're wanting 100%, like it's just like calling a Nicaraguan cigar a Cuban, and it's a perfectly good cigar, just.
Right. It's not what
it's not what
you're paying.
It's like a Diamond Jungle Cross.
You want the diamond, or you want the
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
It looks beautiful, and
nothing wrong with it, but it's not a diamond.
Just not a diamond, as long as you're transparent.
Right. Yeah. 100%. I was going to say that I've thought about, like, I see I watch I can't think of the guy's name. He does the pizza reviews where he just goes around and tastes the pizza. Portnoy,
it's like Barstool pizza.
Yeah.
So I was like, why isn't there that for coffee? I think I might have to do that.
Do it.
When I go around all these herping places,
and just yell at people about their coffee. That's what Dave does, right? He just yells at.
Just be energetic.
6.5.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, where do these numbers come from? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand the grading. What's happening here?
I was going to say, the one time we went herping up actually in Hamburg. So if you're ever at the Hamburg show, I would say that you should check out this place. It's called 412. Man, they had really good coffee there.
He will not shut up about this place.
Dude, it was really
they
good.
stumbled upon it, and then like the next day he was like, "Yeah, what have you ever told me about this place?" I'm like, "I didn't know it existed." So
it's just like this little, like, I don't know, it's like this little shop that's on the corner or whatever. And I don't know. Again, we're herping, and I was like, I need coffee, Rob. We got to get to coffee. He's like, okay, pushes it in, and there we go.
I feel like, again, it's like some of the best sandwich places you find are tucked in the back around the corner where it's like, where the hell is this? And
oh, God damn it. Dave Kaufman beat me.
What?
To it.
I think that was a joke. I don't think he's done that yet.
I
was going to say, God damn it.
But stay tuned for that, because there might be something coming along that
TM. Yeah, all right.
Very good. So what about do you have let me ask this question. Are roasters and shops, do they ever like mingle, or are they two different worlds?
With each other? Like
do roasters usually stay as roasters, or do they
are you guys planning on opening a shop at some point?
A shop, or is that
if we do open a cafe, it'll be a while down the road. Okay, I don't think that's
like a breeder
you're
having
talking
a pet
about
store.
a whole different laundry list of health codes and things like that. Good Lord, I mean, we can get into the story of what it's taken to get this place. So we're in this building. This is our roastery, future roastery building, and we've been in this building since December, and the roaster is still not here. So it's taken 4 months for us to So yesterday we got the business license approval to run operations out of here. It's been 4 months. So so the roaster's technically not in here. I call it the roastery, but it's actually, I don't know, just an office right now. So we're not prepared for the cafe yet. I do have some visions behind the cafe. I think at some point in my career want to open a cafe, but I don't want to run a cafe. That's the big problem that I'm having. I'm a roaster. I like the art of the roasting.
Right.
So I always see myself doing the roasting side, but I would like to have a cafe because I do like, I don't want to ruin it, but I have a vision for like a rainforest style cafe to have like some sort of like reptile and fish and something like that.
Yeah.
In it. So
I
don't know how that works out with health codes and having animals. I mean, there's cat cafes, so I think it has to be possible, but how that works out, but we're talking 5-10 years down the road.
Gotcha.
Before that happens. So do they ever mingle? Yeah, absolutely. Usually from what I see is that they start out as cafes and then they start roasting their own coffee to save money. So that's usually the way that I see it. I don't know as many roasters that go cafe as opposed to cafe that go roaster.
Yeah, I think you probably hit on what I was thinking, because I think I guess in the reptile world, it would be equivalent to a breeder and a pet shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
A breeder is sort of like, they're working out this project, whether, it's a morph and you're getting specific colors. I would imagine that, there's that artistic side of a roaster where you're sort of blending these different things to get different tastes and whatnot. And, whereas on the cafe side of it, you're dealing with more with the people side of it, which when you involve them, they usually sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Anything with people sucks. Yeah.
Especially reptile.
We are horrible.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Could I pick a better? No. Let me just alienate my entire customer base.
All of them. Yeah. Just quickly.
No. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a different set of problems. We mess with it a little bit, like I mentioned earlier, where we do some espresso machine and drip coffee maker service and repair and things like that. So we lease equipment to cafes,
right?
Which has its own fun sets of problems there. But we don't have to deal with the customers, which is we get to deal with businesses for the most part. Of course, our online customers are online, but that's the reptile. Everybody's been great. We haven't had a problem with our online customers. They're wonderful. But dealing with somebody face to face before they've had their morning cup of coffee.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like you're just setting yourself up for failure.
You screw it up.
It seems like a bad idea. I should just hand people coffee as they come in the door, right?
Yeah, that's where your booth should be, right at the door.
Oh, that it is. We have been, So at like Tinley and at St. Louis, we're right on the door.
You should be outside where the line is.
I don't want anybody to deal with anyone else before they've had their coffee. That's just not fair to anybody.
No,
definitely not.
Eric's horrible.
I am. I'm in a straight up asshole.
One time he punched Rob in the face.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And then I'm like, it's like, what was that commercial where you would have they ate the Snickers bar? Yeah. That's basically it.
Yep.
What about Ethiopian pea berry?
I've never had Ethiopian pea berry. I've done like natural Ethiopians and washed Ethiopians, but I've never done Ethiopian pea berry. I mean, I'm open to it, but again, once you start getting into those like more exotic stuff, it's a lot of investment for us,
right.
And so I don't tend to we haven't gotten to the point where we're profitable enough to like put aside that money to do like weird experimental stuff, or like stuff that I'll do small lots of stuff for like special occasions. So like, for instance, and I know it might sound a sacrilege, but I did it anyway. And again, it's my business. I can do what I want. We did a bourbon barrel aged coffee for US Arc for the so we did a small lot bourbon barrel aged coffee that we donated as part of the US Arc auction. So we'll do a little bit of weird stuff like that every once in a while, but it's usually just a one-off run, and it's what I can get in small packages. So stuff like the Ethiopian pea berry, they're pretty sought after, and so I usually can't get them in quantities that make sense to me. They're either in like 1 pound bags or in like the full 150-pound bags.
Right.
So
sounds like me and Pedrick are going to have to go in and buy coffee together.
Yeah.
We have the high end tastes.
I would say it. Thank God Eric missed that U.S. Arc auction, because he would have been like, special coffee, and then we'd be walking home because he would have sold the car. Yeah. So
what was it? Where is it? Oh yeah. How many? Oh, here we go. How many pour over cups will a pound of coffee make?
let's see. That's a good question. Let's see. So
We're all terrible at math, so
a lot.
all right. Somebody's gonna have to do some conversions. So 23 grams is a 12-ounce cup of coffee. So 23 grams is how many ounces?
Hold on.
This got really interesting, didn't it?
Yeah, it's got
Everybody
really,
pull out your calculators real quick.
23 grams to ounces is 0.81.
All right,
ounces.
and then divide that by 12 ounces in a bag, or 12 ounces divided by.
So 0.81 divided by 12.
I think it's the other way.
Other
12
way.
divided by
12 divided by 0.81.
And all of our math teachers are ashamed of us.
Listen,
15,
they don't
14.81. So
there you go.
15 cups.
14.81.
Yeah.
Exactly. Around 15 cups.
Around 15 cups. Okay.
If you do that, then that's a pour over. That's 23. That's 1 to 15. 23 to 350 milliliters. 23 grams to 350 milliliters is or grams. 23 grams to 350 grams.
Coffee bean digest. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
I told you. Yeah. First off, who thought of that? Who went, you know what? This cat already ate this thing. Why don't I try
the human race is in a good spot when you can just discover these type of things, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, and like when we were hunter-gatherers, we were just worried about food, shelter, surviving the winter, not dying from predators, and then slowly we become civilized, and it's like, I wonder what the coffee would taste like this way.
Can I brew the thing a cat already ate? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's have you ever tasted that?
Civet coffee?
No. Yeah, that's
I draw the line at civet coffee.
So do I.
Yeah. I knew a civet. I can't do it. Yeah.
If you're hungry, you'll try anything. Yeah, that's true.
I would definitely recommend being very careful as to your sourcing of civet coffee. Because while they will naturally consume some coffee fruit, that is not a part of their normal diet.
Main diet. Yeah.
So just be careful with your sourcing of. So I personally, we're going to do a podcast episode here coming up about why we don't promote civet coffee for that very reason, because there are people, because it's so popular. It was on the movie, the Bucket List, the one with
was that
really?
Jack Nicholson and
Yeah. And so that was on his bucket list was to try the civet coffee. And it exploded in popularity after that. But that's not, again, there's just not a whole lot of demand for it, right? There's not a whole lot of supply. They increased the demand to so much that people actually started force feeding civets.
I was afraid of
coffee fruit to try and meet the demand. And so you just got to be careful where you source it from. I'm not saying don't do it. Just know where you're sourcing it. And that's coffee in general. We just talked about where you're getting your coffee from, because just like a lot of industries, there's coffee has the potential to discriminate and to treat people very poorly for those coffees that aren't being sustainably sourced and aren't paying attention to that. And just the same way with the civets, just be aware of where your coffee's coming from. Buy directly from roasters if you can, because those are the people that are going to be able to tell you where the coffee's coming from.
Right.
I kind of have an idea of maybe where it came from, right? I think of my dogs, if we were in desperate times and I only had a little bit of coffee and the dogs ate the coffee, you'd be like, that's probably what happened.
Let's hope not. But
can I eat it and can I smoke it? No.
No. Yeah. No, thank you.
So you have a YouTube channel, right?
Do.
And a podcast that's on there, which is pretty awesome, right? Yeah. So do you have plans with that as far as I know I think you have a couple tutorials on there about how to do certain things. Yeah. Are you going to expand on that or?
Yeah, so we're kind of changing direction. So actually, I was editing a video earlier today talking about, opening up a little bit about what the channel direction is going to be going forward. So what we want to do more, we definitely want to keep the coffee content, but we also want to incorporate a little bit more of the animal content, which is something that we haven't done.
Okay.
We've done some like coffee 101s in terms of what coffee plants are and what roasters are and things like that. So basic coffee information. And we've done some like vlogging, like how to vend a reptile show as a coffee vendor. And our recent trip to Tinley, we did a couple of vlogs. So, but we really want to open it up and do more like, here's a coffee to try. And also here's an animal adventure to go on, and things like that. So doing a little bit of both and merging those people that might be there for coffee education and introducing them to animals, and people that are there for the animals and introducing them to coffee, and go back and forth. So that's going to be the direction of the YouTube channel. We're also introducing, hopefully next week, a new series called Roaster Reacts, where McKendrick is going to give me things that shouldn't be made of coffee, or shouldn't have coffee in it, and I'm going to react to them. So the first one. So the first one, we've already filmed the first one, and it is, if you haven't noticed, I am a bearded man. And it is a rugged roast beard oil kit thing. So it is a coffee beard oil, and coffee for your face.
Okay.
Got it.
So spoiler alert.
No.
Oh man!
Big thumbs down.
In your face, not on your face.
Right.
No, I can't. I mean, you say you already smell like coffee anyway. Why do you want like to massage it in there?
Well, and what? So the problem that I have, again, as an individual who comes home smelling like coffee every day, I know what coffee smells like very intimately in my soul. Right. I know what coffee smells like. And so what other people's impressions of what coffee smells like, I don't know where they're getting their coffee from, but that does not smell like coffee. So you'll just have to watch the video.
I can't wait to see that.
Coffee infused soap is another one. I see the comment there. Coffee infused soap. Now I will say, coffee grounds in soap works. So if you work with your hands a lot, and the coffee grounds exfoliate,
like a grit, right?
Like if you made the artisan soaps or something like that, where they have the high grit.
Ground in itself, just don't try and make the soap smell like coffee. Just make like lavender with coffee grounds in it.
Don't. It's not going to go well.
It'll be great. It'll be fine. But don't make coffee espresso soap. It just.
My dad swears by putting coffee grounds in his plants. He swears by it.
It works.
I mean, it breaks down.
So it actually increases the nitrogen in certain levels, right? You don't want to every day you make coffee and you dump it in this poor little basil plant, and it's all coffee grounds in its little pot. But no, it does help. It's a good source of nitrogen.
Yeah, that's the secret to his green thumb.
We figured it out.
You see my plant?
I love that.
Coffee.
There you go.
That's fake. I'm just kidding.
But see, I'll walk into. So he has sort of set up this like little reptile room in his dining room, and he has probably more plants now that he's like a dart frog guy. And
those people,
because he just loves the whole natural setup. He's like, it's probably where I get my creative brain from, right? We can't figure it out. Like, how the hell does he grow these plants? And it's like, Dad, what are you doing? I'm not doing nothing. I'm just watering them. I'm like, God damn it. There's more to what you're doing.
It can't be that easy.
He's like, I don't know. This is just what I'm doing. And then he did tell me that. He's like, well, I do put coffee grounds in them sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So hopefully here in the next couple of months, hopefully by October, is that the next September, October, Arlington and Tinley will have a coffee ground compost. So it'll be, we're working with a one of the bioactive companies to do like a mix of like 50%. So it would be like a fertilizer boost, not necessarily like a substrate, but like you can add it to your plants that has some compost as well as some coffee grounds in it that we're going to be offering hopefully by September, depending on how the product development and everything goes. We got to do some testing and everything, of course, but yeah, that'll be coming soon because it does like, and it also acidifies the soil and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Yep. So it's very good for plants.
Yeah.
In moderation.
Everything in moderation.
I just don't want somebody coming back on the next episode in the comments and being like, Trey from Cold Blooded Caffeine said I need to dump my coffee grounds in my plants. And
I don't know what he's talking about. I poured an entire pot of coffee on my plant and now it's dead. It's like, wait, no one told you to do that.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do that.
Good Lord. Dealing with the internet. Oh man.
So we've had to put disclaimers on things that we thought we'd never have to put disclaimers on. So
Yep. I'm a coffee vendor. You think a hot coffee, like, you know, the whole like, I know.
The Seinfeld.
I get it. I have to think about this stuff all the time. Yeah.
Too hot.
I get it.
So here's a question for you from a coffee point of view. What's your thoughts on James Hoffman?
I love James Hoffman. He's like my favorite person. Yes. I like his British accent, his like tone, his like delivery. Oh, James Hoffman every day for the win. Like, yeah. I don't really watch a lot of like coffee YouTube stuff, but I'll watch every one of James Hoffman videos.
Me too.
Like it's great stuff. And have you seen the what is it? The parody account? Haynes Joffman. Check somebody did a parody of like they'll do like bad advice or something like that, and they'll like mash together all of James Hoffman's videos to make just like ridiculous stuff. And it's wonderful. And he's cool with it. Like he knows it's out there, and again, that's why I like James's videos. He's like, yeah, whatever, that's awesome. You know,
he's
so
kind of like
Haynes Joffman.
Haynes Joffman. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Oh, and to give you an idea, he's kind of like if you had Nipper's personality, right, with Nick's like his whole background on Python. Like, you know how he gets about pythons?
Yeah.
That's this guy.
Dude is serious about coffee. Like, oh my gosh.
I think they're just some of those people that like you thought you were serious about coffee, and then you meet them and you're like, holy crap.
He literally wrote the book.
Yeah. He did. Multiple ones. But this is the book, the Bible.
Several. There you go.
Yes.
All right.
Best coffee at home. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So literally wrote the book on coffee.
I upset Nipper because I constantly talk to him about tea and how, like, if I were to make it, and apparently it's completely wrong, and he's tried to correct me several times, but yeah.
Well, he's very much into, like, if he's going to drink coffee, it's espresso and has to have a certain amount of creme on it, and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, us American heathens with our giant coffees and such. Yeah.
I do. So do you add, what's your go-to coffee drink? Just straight black coffee or yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, for the most part, like there's nothing wrong with adding milk to coffee. So first of all, there's nothing wrong with adding milk to coffee. Adding sugar to coffee is a diabolical sin.
Okay.
You will straight to hell. No, just kidding.
You go directly to hell.
Do not pass go. Do not
collect $200. Done.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So no, I do drink black coffee for the most part. I did have a latte this morning. When I go to a new coffee place, mostly if I know I'm going to go back, I start with their black coffee because that tells me that's probably their least served drink. So most coffee places are going to be more espresso based. Like more cafes are going to be more espresso based. So I want to see what their black coffee is because that's their base. That's probably what the beans they're using for their espresso anyway. Let's see at its raw form what they're working with. But I will start with the black coffee. I'll also get a latte to see how their espressos go. You can tell a lot about a cafe by how they pull their espresso. So I start with black coffee, but I'll also do a latte.
Okay.
No.
Straight to jail, Ryan.
That's just sticky sugar.
Straight to jail. How dare you?
It is more than that. I don't know, but stop. Stop.
What was the
You're hurting me. It's too late for this.
That was the guy, the quarterback that's in the NFL draft. He adds like mayonnaise to his coffee. Yeah, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I'm a big football fan. It was Will Levis, wasn't it?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big college football fan, and I had to turn the TV off.
That boy has a head injury that needs to be diagnosed very quickly.
Stop. Yeah. No, okay. So I caveat. I have to say this because I'm a coffee roaster. So I put on this facade. Drink whatever coffee makes you happy. Like seriously, I'm just messing around. Like if you like the taste of your coffee, do whatever.
I'm drawing the line at mayonnaise, man.
Mayonnaise is wrong. Like I think there's a health reason there. Like there's got to be something.
Something is wrong.
Mayonnaise goes on a sandwich.
But drink the coffee that you like. I do ask that if you do consume my coffee, try it black. It's like going to a nice restaurant and ordering a steak and then immediately in front of the chef pouring A1 on it.
Right.
Just try it. And then if you're like, okay, I would prefer it with milk and sugar, absolutely go for it.
My sister is a chef, and you try her food the way she put it down in front of you before you touch any salt and pepper, or she will take it away from you. You have to try it, and then you may season it the way you want, but you try it first.
I completely get that because I do take a lot of effort to craft the coffee a certain way and the way that I envision it to be consumed. But again, I respect you drink coffee, you buy coffee, you drink it for pleasure. It's not something that you have to have. You don't have to consume it every day. So drink it the way you want.
Right.
Depending on who you are. Eric might disagree.
Eric's
I'm going to take the hard stand for you, man. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Drink it black. You say what you have to say.
We can do what we want. Yeah, we don't. We are hold to no one. Yeah.
I think for me, right, this will just be what I throw out there. For a long time, I drank coffee that had to have like hazelnut creamer and sugar and all this shit. It was because I was drinking shit coffee that was made shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you just take the time to learn how to make it, well, however you make it, you don't have to have fancy stuff. You can do it pretty reasonably. But anyway, if you make a good cup of coffee, you don't, it's just to your point with the steak, like the steak itself is just cooked perfectly. It's, and it's, you just got to find the right blend and what you like, And
I think a lot of people get used to that flavor. Like if like French vanilla or hazelnut or something like that, you get used to that flavor and then you correlate that with coffee, and that's okay. But again, try it. And it's not because coffee, like specialty coffee, like what we roast, it has a lot of nuances. And it's not as forward as like French vanilla or hazelnut, but like when we say coffee notes on our bag, we do really mean that. Like we've taken the time to try and extract what that coffee palette tastes like to us. And so you'll have things like apricot and honey and nutmeg. Whatever.
See, comes right back around.
Those are not additives. Those are tasting notes that we taste out of the coffee. So there's a lot of delicate notes and a lot of flavors that are coming out of this specialty coffee that you might not get from a commodity grade coffee. So that's why we say try it, because a specialty coffee might actually not taste as well with those flavored creamers because there's other flavors that are competing with them, right? That we've purposefully crafted to be in there that it might taste off with your normal creamer. So,
and then you dump a ton of creamer in it
where was I at? I think I was so my dad used to harp on me for years about it. He's like, why are you putting that shit in your coffee? Blah, blah, blah. And like we went somewhere and I could only have it that way. And I drank it and I was like, oh my God, this is the best cup of coffee I ever had in my life. And then I never went back. But it sounds like we're going to have a coffee bar at Carpet Fest. And I'm going to change these people over like Jason right there.
we can do it, man. Let me know. We did a coffee bar at Canova for their event.
Oh, yeah?
We can hook you up.
All right.
We'll make it happen.
Carpet Fest is fun. I like that idea.
It's yeah, man. Like right up on my big coffee bar that I got there.
Yeah, we need something to keep ourselves
we
up.
Can hook you up.
Yeah,
but yeah, I had a similar story, Eric. I used to put stuff in my coffee as well back in my ignorant, days, and I had an ex-girlfriend that bullied me into drinking manly coffee,
right?
So I forced it down until I liked it, and now I don't drink anything else.
Yeah,
and I'm no longer with that mean person.
Still looking for I love coffee, love finding good coffee. This was Owen's problem a little while ago. He couldn't drink coffee. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
Can't find a decent decaf.
Decaf is tricky.
Yeah.
Decaf is tricky because so maybe for those that don't know, there's no like naturally decaffeinated coffee. Like it's all post-harvest, post-processed decaffeination, right? So you have to inherently change the coffee to make it decaf.
Right.
Now, the old way of making decaf coffee is with chemicals. So you'll probably, up until, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, you would never, ever possibly see an organic decaf because it was impossible, right? You would have to add chemicals to make it decaffeinated. Now there are new processing methods that are coming out. So if you're looking for a decaffeinated coffee that tastes similar to what you would expect from the non-decaffeinated version, look for things like Swiss Mountain decaf, Swiss water decaf, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a naturally decaffeinated coffee, and I don't know the process. It's way over my head, but they can certify it as organic because it doesn't use chemicals.
Wow.
So it's an organic process for decaffeinated coffee. So try to find Swiss water decaf coffee. It is significantly more expensive than you can get cheap decaf, chemically decaffeinated coffee anywhere. Swiss Mountain, Swiss water, whatever it's called, Swiss something
decaf. Yeah.
And it's better, but it's going to be more expensive. So we do have a decaf on the website, but it's a chemical, but it's a natural chemical. I can't remember what the terminology is, but it's not Swiss water decaf. So I would suggest if you're trying to find a good decaf, try that first, and then maybe you can branch out there.
Americano, that's a good drink. I like that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I recommend Americanos for those that are looking for drip coffee out a lot of times, because again, like I said, a lot of places don't really pay a lot of attention to their drip coffee.
Right.
So an Americano can actually be a better bet than just get a Swiss hot.
Yeah, that was a whole nother world.
Yeah, same thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
Swiss.
Americanos where they add water to an espresso.
It's espresso with water, with hot water. Yeah.
Hot water. Yeah.
Was it? I used to work at a coffee shop in college for like the briefest of moments, and there was always this guy who would come in and he'd order like I think it was called like a red eye or an eye opener. It was like straight black coffee with a couple shots of espresso. I'm like, damn, dude,
don't do that.
It's a red eye, right?
Oh yeah, it was just like, it was tall black coffee. Like I think the first time it was like one shot of espresso, and he kept coming. He goes, "Not enough, more." I'm like, "What do you do?"
That's what was that Will Ferrell movie?
Checked out. Yeah.
What was that Will Ferrell movie where he was like coaching the kids and he went in to get the coffee and he's like,
soccer coach.
"You could do half caffeine, half not." And then he's like, by the end of the movie, he's like drinking it,
just chugging it,
just like shots upon shots. Short black. Yeah. Well, what's a short black? I never heard of it. I heard of a long black. I've heard of a.
Yeah. So an Americano is usually a double shot with hot water.
Okay.
So yeah.
Does Cold Blooded do a French roast style? Do you do a French roast style? Or what would you recommend for a roast?
Yeah. So I mean, the Carpets and Coffee is similar to a French roast style. And so we have a Papua New Guinea single origin on the website that's similar to a French roast style.
How about Nocturnal?
Nocturnal is yeah, exactly. There you go. A French roast style.
There you go. Nocturnal.
So there's a couple of options. Any of our dark roast, anything labeled as dark roast is aimed to be a French roast style. Cool. We don't go all the way to Italian roast style. So like, I mean, there's, and those words are very arbitrary, by the way. There's no like standard as to what those mean.
Right.
But just know that like, okay, so I'll give you a brief rundown of what that means to a coffee roaster. So anything. So first of all, let's start with, once you get to a certain point in the roast, coffee will pop like popcorn. So that's called first crack. So usually it's between 8 and 10 minutes. And so once it gets to that point, once the internal bean temperature gets to a certain point and expands and lets out moisture and gas, then it will pop like popcorn.
Okay.
That is first crack. So anything from that point to about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes later, would be considered a light roast. And I'm being very vague here, so it gets a lot more specific than that. Like you talk about development time percentages and things like that. But just as a general rule, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes later, that's a light roast. Between 2 minutes and 3 minutes would be a medium roast. And then after you get past a medium roast, it will actually crack again. So that's second crack.
Okay.
So right around like 435 degrees, or generally speaking, we aim for about 4 minutes after first crack. That's second crack. And that's when you start getting to like espressos and French roasts.
Okay.
You can push it even further, and you can get up to like 450 degrees, 460 degrees. And that's when you're getting to that Italian roast realm. But you got to be careful, because there's like coffee is product, like an agriculture product. It can catch on fire at some point, right? So you have to be, you're playing with like literal playing with fire at some point. So we don't take it that far. First of all, we're a specialty coffee roaster, so we tend to roast lighter than a lot of your commodity coffees anyway, because we're looking for some of those nuanced flavor notes. So the darkest we go is about around second crack. So most of the stuff that you see on our website is right around 435, 440 degrees, right at second crack, as it's coming out of second crack. So that's our dark roast. Where does Turkish coffee fall? Turkish coffee is along those same lines. So most Turkish coffee is right at or right beyond second crack.
Okay.
Turkish coffee tends to be a little darker as well.
Is it harder to get a good brew on a darker coffee? Is that
not necessarily harder brew? It stales a lot faster. So
okay.
Freshness is impacted. So because the cellulose of the bean itself is degraded, and because of the amount of porosity of the bean at that point, it allows the bean to off gas a lot faster and oxygenate faster. So
Gotcha.
It will go stale faster. So it is more important, if you do have dark roast coffee, to do whole bean if possible, because that will string it out just a little bit. If you grind dark roast and you're getting dark roast, it's going to stale fast.
Gotcha.
What's the typical shelf life? A month?
Yeah, I mean, so coffee is a shelf stable item. So you can. I've tasted 20-year-old coffee and I didn't die. It wasn't good. It was cardboard. But
I should say for optimal taste, right?
Yeah. Just as a caveat, I'll say a number, but know that you're not going to be harmed if you drink coffee beyond the date that I say. Most specialty coffee roasters will say a month to 6 weeks on the shelf life. And that's why it's important. It is important to buy from a roaster. Buying from the grocery store, by the time that grocery store gets it, puts it on the shelf, a lot of the time it's beyond that time period anyway. So just know that, I mean, will you be able to tell the difference, person who's just getting into coffee, at 6 weeks versus 4 weeks? Probably not.
No.
I mean, honestly, probably not. But are you getting what you paid for at that point?
Right.
No. Right. There's some work that the roaster put into it that are best, but there's also on the front end, depending on the style of coffee that you're making, that you want it to rest for a little while. So
yeah,
we don't recommend drinking coffee within the first 24 hours of roasting, because you do want it to off gas and release that carbon dioxide. Obviously that doesn't really apply to anyone here, because by the time you order it and I ship it to you,
none of you are here.
like waiting at the roaster for me to finish it. It's probably going to be more than 24 hours. But espresso, if you're brewing for espresso, you want to wait for at least a week before because it will impact the pressure and the way the water goes through the puck if it's releasing gas, because you don't want it to bloom as much. You don't want espresso to bloom. So if it's doing that, then that's not going to be good for your coffee. It's going to create channels in the puck, and you're going to have less than an optimal extraction. So
yeah, there's been a couple people that they were shopping for coffee in my store, and I'm like, you don't want this. This is terrible.
There are very good reputable brands.
Yeah, sure.
Like Stumptown, Intelligentsia. There's a bunch of really good brands that you'll see, especially coffee roasters in grocery stores.
Right.
I know you work at a grocery store. Go online and order the coffee straight from
100%. That's what I do.
But that's why you're like, they're never going to get it in time. Eric knows for 100% they don't get it in time.
Well, it depends, right? Is there certain people that they're just looking at it as it's, instead of drinking a Red Bull, they're drinking coffee in the morning. It's just the thing, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily. And then there's people like, that are a little bit geekier, like myself, that like are looking for that. So my friend, the one guy I work with, he's very into craft beer. He brews his own beers, and it's so similar, the two worlds of like, just like, if you do this way and use these special things. And I don't know anything about making beer, but I just know from like how he talks about it, it's very similar. And but yeah, I'm gonna make myself how dare you, Robert Sanka? Good God. What have we become? All right. I guess we're almost at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
Wow. So obviously if people are listening to this, they know where to go, but if you're just stumbling upon us, where can they go to buy coffee from you guys?
Yeah, so you can check us out at coldbloodedcaffeine.com. And we're at, as I mentioned earlier, we vend all the NARBC shows except for Schaumburg. Because I live in Charleston and I cannot drive to Chicago area 4 times a year. So I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I will not do it. It's like, okay,
I draw a line. Coldbloodedcaffeine.com. There's 2 sections on the website: our signature coffee, so anything with our branding on it, and then the affiliate coffee, of which the Carpets and Coffee is
there we go.
One of them.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
nice.
You can check it out there.
Awesome, man. Thank you for coming on, and
absolutely
anything we can do ever to help you, anything, whatever, man. That
we greatly appreciate.
We'll happily drink coffee for you. Yeah.
So far, my favorite. I'm slowly going through all of them to try them all. Because what I do is I do like a little thing for the Patreons where I'll sort of like talk about the coffee that I got, sort of do a little write up on it. But so far mine's been the Nicaraguan honey processed one. That's been my favorite.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
That's a good one because it's interesting and it's complex and it's got a lot of those notes that can ease people into specialty coffee. But like I said, it's not like overwhelmingly like, oh, this doesn't taste like coffee.
Right.
I tried some coffees that are like,
almost
sour, like a sour beer. Like I don't know if you've ever had a sour beer.
Yeah.
I enjoy the Nicaraguan honey. Just know for those like I should actually add a caveat as well as to say as a commodity item and as an agricultural product, a lot of times these coffees don't come in all the time, right? So like the Nicaraguan honey, I don't know when the next time it's going to come in. So if you like a particular coffee, make sure that you get it when it's available, because some of those things will go away and we'll replace it with something new and interesting too. But just know that as with any commodity item, I can't guarantee that we'll always have a Nicaraguan honey in stock. So.
And I will say this last thing, because I said this before on Carpets and Coffee, and I think you guys talked about it when you were on Snakes and Stogies, was you do a subscription, right?
Yes,
I do.
Thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was looking for it, like, subscribe, but it's like if you go under the individual coffee, you could buy it as a one time, or you can bring it down as a subscription.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that was the only way that we could find out how to do it, was to do it on the individual coffee. So you could,
yeah.
But if you have, like, if you do want the subscription and you're like, okay, I ever want to change the subscription, you get a link once you subscribe, and you can go in and you can edit that subscription and change it.
Nice. Okay.
So if you ever want to do that, so it's not like you subscribe to a coffee package, you subscribe to an individual coffee, but it's always editable, and you can edit the frequency and everything as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome.
All right. And what was the YouTube channel again?
Yeah.
Cold-Blooded Caffeine?
Cold-Blooded Caffeine. Yeah. Cold-Blooded Caffeine on everywhere. Cold-Blooded Caffeine podcast, Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah, all of it.
Do a TikTok at some point. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Don't do that. Just keep dancing.
I'll sell out for some. You got.
I think you should do it, man.
Here.
I have 100%. No shame. Got it. All right.
We won't do it, but you should do it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Especially, man. That's a good idea, man. You should jump on that. Apparently, you get like 15,000 views in the first couple minutes of
whatever.
So, all right, man. Appreciate you coming and talking coffee with us. And
absolutely, glad to be on. Appreciate you guys.
All right, man. And that'll be all for us. And we will see you next week with Craig Trumbauer on Python Radio. Herp History. So that should be cool. Talking about his books, his herping, his whole experiences in the reptile business. And I did order these 2 books for you, Owen, but unfortunately they won't be there till Monday.
Damn it. It's all right. I did finish. I finished Lizard King. So
okay.
Yeah,
so we can do a thing on that. Okay.
Yeah, well, dude, the entire last chapter was nothing but Martin's aquarium, and I'm like, I live right near there. Yeah, all right. So
we're excited about that Blue Mountain.
There you go.
We'll make it happen.
There you go.
I'm excited to sell it.
All right, everybody, have a good one, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.